I am Dr. Knjacob welcoming you to Sense 101 Life Club, where we train, coach, and mentor people to achieve their God-given destinies. Sense 101 Life Club, inspiring generations.
Choices. I read of a story of a gentleman who couldn't speak Spanish. He went into a church congregation that was being conducted in Spanish. But since he wanted to disguise himself, he decided to behave like his neighbor, his immediate neighbor, in the front row of the church. Whenever the neighbor would stand up, he would stand up. Whenever the neighbor would sit down, he would sit down. Everything went on so smoothly until the announcement time. The pastor made a certain announcement, and the neighbor stood up, and this pretender decided to stand. Not realizing the rest of the congregation did not stand. After a few moments, he realized it was only him and the neighbor who was standing, and he quickly decided to sit down. At the end of the church, the pastor went over to the stranger and told him, "You don't understand Spanish." And the stranger said, "You mean it's that obvious?" Well, during the announcement time, we have a new baby in this church, and I announced the proud father to stand up, and you stood. Some choices we make can be quite embarrassing. Now, talk of choices. My mom is no joke. In her menu, there were two choices: take it or leave it. I don't know whether that describes your mom too. Decisive people have determined the course of human history. One decision can lead to World War III. A single decision by Adolf Hitler of Germany to invade Russia on 22nd of June 1941 is regarded by many historians as his worst military decision, worst military mistake. A single decision by the Japanese Empire to attack Pearl Harbor on 7th of December 1941 cost them thousands and thousands of lives when the U.S. responded by bombing Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945. The manner by which the Land Reform Program was implemented in Zimbabwe impoverished a once vibrant economy, reducing it to the highest hyperinflation in modern history, over 10,000%. The Zim dollar for a long time has been changing to the US at the ratio of 1 to 45,000. One single decision from their leader pauperized 15 million lives. On 12th of September 1962, JFK gave one of his most moving speeches: "We choose to go to the moon." About 7 years later, 20th of January 1969, we are told that Neil Armstrong landed on the moon because of one decision by a leader. A single decision by Samson of old to live with Delilah cost his life. We make countless choices every single day, and each one of them counts. Many scholars have argued about how many choices a human being makes per day. Perhaps the most quoted is One Sick and Sober 2007. And they suggest that the average adult makes about 35,000 choices every single day. A child makes about 3,000 choices. They even further suggest that an adult makes about 226.7 choices on food alone. Maybe you've never given it a thought. But within that 10 minutes of your waking up, you can imagine how many choices you've made. First, you've got to make a choice whether to wake up or not, how to wake up, whether to use a clock or to trust your biological clock, whether to pray or not, how to pray, how long to pray, who to pray for, whether to brush your teeth or not, what toothpaste to use, whether to use toothpaste in the first place, whether to shower or to bathe or to ignore and dress up. It's not even 15 minutes. Some of you are the wardrobe. You even have 100 more choices to make. In my house, I make the fewest choices in terms of shoes. I don't talk about mercy. Because basically, I have 2 black shoes, which I use for all my meetings, and 1 brown shoe. It's easy for me. I have 5 suits. If you buy me a 6th one, I give away the other one. I don't keep more than 5 suits. But I don't know how many clothes Matthew has. I estimate on the lower side 150 of them. Life gets very complicated the more the options you have. Now, some choices are easy to make. Sometimes I'm given a form to tick male or female. Over 99% of you, that's an easy choice. Is that so? But some choices are more complicated. You are interviewing people. Last week, we were interviewing people who are looking for a graduate to manage one of our businesses. We got over 30 applications, and each one of them had a university degree. Then we got ourselves into a crisis. How do you shortlist them? They all look qualified. Or you want to look for a life partner. If you already decide it's an opposite sex, then you have 3.5 billion choices to make, after which you have to decide about the color, the height, the width, the language, the tribe, the race, the mannerisms, the temperaments, how they dress, how they eat, how they talk, how they do anger management. And as a result of this, many of us linger in indecision. And once you linger in indecision for a long time, that already becomes a decision. The main reason why people struggle to make decisions is because their values are fluid. Values are one's principles or standards of behavior, one's judgment of what is important. The highest choices you can ever make is about values. Choices that you make, whether accidentally or by design, are equally important. The main education you'll ever receive is learning what to choose and how to choose. Choices are the hinges of destiny. Your life is a sum total of the choices that you make. Each one of us here tonight has made some mistakes in our past. If you really want to know the choices that you have made in your past, look at yourself and the life that you have lived. It reflects the choices that you've already made. If you manage your choices, you're going to manage your life. In other words, manage your choices, and by default, you will manage your life. Every choice has a price tag. Every choice has an end result. When you say yes to one choice, by default, you say no to another choice. We choose our joys and sorrows long before we experience them. The self is not something ready-made, but something in continuous formation through choice of action. It is Steve Covey who said, while we are free to choose our actions, we are not free to choose the consequences of our actions. Some 2 fishermen erected a sign written, "The end is near. Turn yourself around before it's too late." And they showed every passing car. One driver didn't appreciate that, and he decided to shout at them, "You religious nuts, keep paws from us. Stop disturbing us." In a flash, there was a loud splash in the water as he was drowning in his car. See, some choices never give you a second chance. Tonight, I want to invite you to walk with me through a very exciting journey, choices. And I want to look at 4 aspects of choices. The first thing, I'm going to look at conflicts in choices. Secondly, I'm going to look at decision-making process. Thirdly, I'm going to look at common choices we make. And lastly, I'll examine the power of choice. Number 1, conflicts in choices. Conflicts occur when you've got to make a moral or ethical decision, but you're confronted by some dilemma of some sort. As a result, you've got to decide between 2 appealing options, or 2 undesired outcomes, or 2 desired outcomes. Every one of us, every so often, we go through internal conflict while making decisions. You know, sometimes the urge to do what is right, worthy, good, and pleasurable is confronted by the fact that it involves some pain, inconvenience, or hard work. Conflict happens because there are competing desires or some roadblocks and obstacles to be overcome. Conflicts, however, are necessary to propel a narrative forward. As a matter of fact, the absence of a conflict amounts to the absence of a story. There are three basic types of conflicts that we all face. Number one, approach, conflict. Approach, conflict. Approach conflict takes place when you have two desired outcomes and you don't know which one to select. You don't know which is the best among the two good options set before you. For example, you've got some income and you're struggling to decide whether to save or to invest. Saving money secures your money, but saved money loses value. Investing, on the other hand, gives you an opportunity to gain, but investing, on the other hand, risks losing. Then you're in a conflict. You have received your income at the end of the month, and you've got to make up your mind whether to pay off your debts or to pay your bills. Both of them are desired. Then you're in a conflict. About 3 years ago, my friend Erastus invited me to help him make a decision. He's been doing very well in the corporate world. There are many rewards behind his name. Then he was invited by the county government where he comes from. And then he had a strong desire to help improve the living standards of his home county. But then he was climbing in the corporate world, and he found himself in a conflict between two good options. I remember we labored through that question way past 1 a.m. The second type of a conflict, we call it approach avoidance conflict. Approach avoidance conflict. This is a dilemma while making choices, because there's something you want to do and you have to do it, but then it has merits and demerits within it. Sort of mixed blessings. You think to and forth, trying to look for a state of equilibrium in such a manner you're going to accept both the advantages and the disadvantages of that thing you're looking for. For example, you just get a promotion in your workplace, but then you're transferred. That promotion is requiring you to be absent from your family. You like the promotion and the benefits and the higher income that come with it, but at the same time, it's going to compromise your desire to live with your family. Then you're in a conflict. Another example, you go to a doctor and the doctor is very categorical. He's going to cut down some of the foods you eat. You love your ice cream. You like your chocolates. And the doctor goes ahead and tells you to cut on wheat, cut on your coffee. In fact, the doctor has the audacity of suggesting to you to take a tasteless green smoothie substance. You have a choice to make. You hate the weight, but you don't like the green smoothie. A friend of mine by the name Margaret, she was betrothed. She wanted to get married. It was one of her agendas in life. But then where she was working, they demanded if you've got to continue, you've got to either quit the engagement or quit the job. Because in this organization, we don't allow two people who are married to work together. Now, getting a job is not a walk in the park in Kenya. Getting a good husband is not a joke either. And she found herself in a conflict. She scanned the environment very fast and decided she can risk the job and look for a job some other day. But getting a good husband may come once in a lifetime. Does that make sense? And so she went for the husband. Now, these kind of conflicts are usually stressful because either way, you're not going to get your cake and eat it at the same time. You see, this morning, I woke up, I went jogging. Then I decided to take that green smoothie. And then I took some Chinese tea. Let me tell you the truth. I hate the green smoothie. I hate Chinese tea. I hate jogging in the morning. I would rather sleep and rest. At the same time, if I have to continue doing this business properly, I've got to take care of my health and leave the rest to God. I learned long ago to say no to the pain of the moment so that I may enjoy the benefits of making a good choice. conflict number 3. Avoidance, conflict. Avoidance, conflict. This is a situation whereby you have two undesired options, or rather outcomes, but you must take one of them. So what you have to do is to take the lesser of the two evils. Next week, Tuesday, the 8th November 2016, the United States of America will be making a decision between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. The average objective American voter, what they've got to do is to decide who of the less evils they have to vote for. As a matter of curiosity, if you were an American voter, a legitimate American voter, how many in this live audience would vote for Donald Trump? Please, let's see. My God, he would get 0 votes here? No single vote for Donald Trump? You know, Americans are going to watch this video. They are no sympathizers. Oh, Pastor Kabibi. Oh, he's not the one. Oh, all right. And you know what is true for America is true for many economies, including Kenya. During every electioneering term, most of the voters had to make a choice between who among the two less evils. Do you ever find yourself in that situation? But let's come back nearer home. If you do not go back for further studies, you're going to remain in the same job position for long. You're in a conflict. You don't like reading. You don't like the restoring the traffic to go for further classes. You don't like the fact that you're going to leave perhaps your family, sacrifice family time for further studies. But then if you do not do that and go through that discomfort, you're not likely to be promoted. Younger people will come and bypass you in your place of work. Then you're in a conflict. Or even a child comes home in the evening, and this is usually an assignment from their mother. The mother says, usually it's mothers, not fathers, you have a choice to make. Either to do your undesired homework or to do the undesired home chores. And then the child is in a state of a conflict because they don't desire any of the two. Decision making is never an easy process. And that's why I want to take you to the second part of my presentation tonight, decision-making process. Decision-making process. Over the years, great leaders realize they can't make decisions based on convenience. They've got to make decisions based on morals. They've got to make decisions based on commitment. Great leaders realized they can't make commitments based on urges and cravings and impulses. They've got to be guided by higher ideals. In 1862, President Abraham Lincoln issued and published the Emancipation Proclamation, thereby promising to free 4 million slaves in the Confederacy, and in essence, giving the Union armies a moral cause to fight for. That single decision, which was opposed by his cabinet, people wanted to maintain and retain the status quo of keeping slaves, proved to be a very costly choice. 15th of April, 1865, he was assassinated. Exactly 100 years later, for the same cause of human rights, John F. Kennedy was killed. 3 years later, 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. died for the same cause. Those 3 men have since been immortalized in the U.S. history, with Abraham Lincoln in particular being widely recognized as the most popular protest of that great nation, mainly because he kept a country during Civil War and pushed that country towards freedom for all. Sometimes making the right choices can be costly. Most of us here might not be called upon to make national decisions, but in your day-to-day life, you are confronted by scenarios where you need to be strong enough to make the right decision, not the popular decision. Most of us, regrettably, make decisions out of peer pressure. We try to measure up with our peers. We try to impress the people around us. I want to suggest tonight that somebody's choice may not necessarily be your own choice. it may be your alternative for consideration. Even the best of the choices, it is as strong as the choices that stand by its side. Let's, for example, you have taken your child to a certain school. I want to suggest to you today, affordability is not a question of whether you are paying school fees or not. Affordability is a question of what is left behind after you pay the school fees. What is the percentage of that school fees vis-a-vis your total income? Is it also possible you have taken your child to a school where they don't belong and they are going through stress? They are going through issues because they can't go for an international trip like the other kids in that particular school, and you're exposing them to low self-esteem while trying to massage your own ego. Let's face it, we are just about to get into the festive seasons of Christmas. The behavior in this country is that most people in January are already dead broke. So affordability of that holiday is not a question of you paying the hotel, but what is left behind after you pay that hotel. As I draw these statements here, I'm conscious of the fact that some of you are just about to accuse me of lacking faith. Some of you want to pull the name faith into this whole stuff. And I want to warn you that faith has substance. Faith is not void. Faith ideally is a substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Faith means I'm conscious of my current income and my projected income as I make these decisions. So I've got to ask myself this question: is this really my choice? Where I am living, is this really my choice? Or am I trying to impress people who don't like me in the first place? Let me just suggest to you an 8-step procedure while making very difficult decisions or very important decisions. And I'm going to use owning a home just as a way of example. You want to own a home. Step number 1, decide the purpose. Why do you want to own a home? Because if you're going to make critical decisions, you're going to go through